It's Friday, the 6th of November, the year of our Lord 2020. We're live from the nation's capital. You're in the War Room, episode 481, now with over 17 million downloads. We're live on the John Fredericks Radio Network on RealAmericasVoice.news, or just Real America's Voice, I guess it is, Old America's Voice, Real America's Voice, and Newsmax TV in 70 million homes. Real America's Voice is Dish Channel 219 and Comcast Channel 113. I want to thank the lads out in Denver, the men and women out there that have helped me make this show possible, G News, GTV. And you can get us on the live stream. Make sure you get us within this listening audience. Get us on the live stream at americasvoice.news. Is that what it is? Americasvoice.news, the old name for the station. They got it, or the channel. Doing fantastic work. We have a number of the America's Voice, the Real America's Voice folks, including Ben is going to be with us later to do a live report from Maricopa County. He's been doing amazing work out there. We've got people all over. We've got a packed show today. Second hour at 6 o'clock, we're going to have Rich Barris on, and we're going to go through some details and some analysis of where we actually stand on this vote. Remember, a lot's happening. There are many moving pieces. If you're watching the mainstream media, all you're hearing is, Trump's finished, Trump's done. They're going to be calling Pennsylvania, they're calling this. Take a deep breath. The cavalry has arrived. There are many serious lawyers working on this thing, some known, some unknown. There are huge legal packages being put together. There's tons of analytics going on. There's absolutely no doubt that something is very wrong with this election. Everybody knows it, right? They're going to be called out. The mainstream media that came out with the information warfare and all these polls and tried to do the voter suppression are not going to be able to steal this. So we need resolve. Just have resolve. We're going to figure this out. We're going to use the rule of law to do it. We're going to use the courts. We're going to use the Constitution, and particularly the way the Constitution was structured and written. So everybody just take a deep breath, listen, and figure out what you got to do. Number one, what you got to do is you got to push out nonstop. What you can do is push out nonstop all the content you're seeing around the internet from all these great sites, from Revolver to our site. Push out as we break down the show during the day on all the different social media platforms. Just push, build a community, because that's what it's going to take. And the show gets bigger. Look, the reason they're trying to shut us down is I was talking the other day. I was speaking figuratively, not literally, as people know. We talked about St. Thomas More the day before, right, in his trial and execution. And that, we talked about, and I've said from day one, I still believe this. President of the United States, second term's here. He should fire Ray, and he should fire Fauci immediately. And I agree with Jack Maxey. Have him in the Oval, have the nation's media there, ask him 20 questions, and fire him, right? And Fauci's going to be fired, and Ray's going to be fired. That's coming.
And show what transparent government really means.
Radical transparency. That's what we want. Okay, we've got a packed show. I want to start. We're going to go to Georgia. We're going to Philadelphia. We're putting you in the war rooms that are there. We're taking you to the headquarters of places, whether it's Maricopa County, Atlanta, Georgia, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I want to start with one of our production partners, the guy without whom we would never be able to launch this show, John Fredericks. He's got an announcement. What's happening right now is that Georgia, Pennsylvania is obviously the big enchilada. That's the thing people focus.
Some exciting news, though. Yeah. They just updated the numbers on Pennsylvania. The count that just got sent in, it's now tightened to 15,000 votes. 15,000. And ladies and gentlemen, they do not have many of the ballots that are probably going to be there. We know that they had none of the provisional ballots. They're talking about this in the mainstream media after our show this morning. So there's more to come. Keep the faith, people.
Jack Maxey's been forcing that one. He's been on that one like a dog on a bone for a couple of days, the provisional ballots. He's also about military ballots. Midge is going to have an update for all the nonsense going around the country a little later. Okay, I want to go to John Fredericks. John, you're shifting the flag, are you not, from your command post in Richmond, Virginia? You got some breaking news. You're going to shift the command down to where?
To Atlanta, Georgia. We're going to be there all next week with the John Fredericks Radio Network, with AVN. We'll be on your show. We started the week in Washington, went to the heart of Virginia. Now we're going to be at the command center in Atlanta. Part of this, Steve, is to be able to shed light and transparency on what is going on, give a platform to the Trump lawyers, to the campaign down there, to all of the surrogates that we have, and to bring transparency through a radio and video network. At the end of the day, Steve, as you know, you turn on the lights, the cockroaches shatter, and they scatter. And that's exactly what is happening. What the situation right now is in Georgia number one with these two runoffs, Atlanta and Georgia become the epicenter, the ground zero, Steve, of the Republic as we know it. We lose those two seats. We lose the president. We're never going to have a country again. Everybody's got to realize how high the stakes are. In Georgia, right now, Biden has moved ahead by 1,500 votes, and the mainstream fake legacy media is jumping all over themselves to try to call it. There's nothing to call. 9,000, just in Gwinnett County alone, 9,000 ballots are outstanding from active military. Those have been breaking over 65% for Trump so far. All he's done for the military. Let's say it goes down and it's only 60%. That gives Trump net 2,000. That puts him ahead by 500. Some of the data analysts I've talked to in Atlanta today are saying that they expect Trump now to win Georgia outright by 200 to 300 votes when it's said and done. Then there's going to be a recount. Secretary of State has already called for that. There's all kinds of fraud going on. A lot of these Biden ballots are going to be deemed ineligible and thrown out. Biden can only go backward. Any of these recounts, Biden can only go backwards. He can't gain anything. That's going to happen in Georgia. There's other counties, pockets that are deep red that are going to come in for President Trump, so they feel confident about a victory there. Now, let me tell you one thing that happened, and Jenny Beth Martin can confirm this. In the biggest Fulton County vote-gathering center at the Farm Bureau, at 11 p.m., they said, we're going to stop counting ballots. They told the media go home. They told the Republican poll watchers and the Democrat poll watchers, everybody go home. We're done for the night. We're tired. We're going to go eat. We're going to be back tomorrow at 9 a.m. Everybody went out. They locked the door. They shut the blinds, and they continued to count ballots all night with no supervision, no Republicans there. That's illegal. That's going to be investigated.
Hold on, hang on,
Steve,
hang on.
The degree of fraud that's going on is incredible.
Hang over a second. I want to go back to that. The Farm Bureau,
Sorry.
Fulton County. No, this is one of their biggest places. This was 11 o'clock on Tuesday night.
One of their biggest Democratic strongholds. Yep.
Walk our
11 p.m. Tuesday night.
Walk our audience through it slowly.
Okay. 11 o'clock Tuesday night, they have Republican poll watchers there because this is a major Democratic Fulton County, downtown Atlanta stronghold. They've got poll watchers there, Republicans are there, lawyers are there, watching the county of ballots. At 11 p.m., those in charge of the ballot counting at that facility told the media and they told Republican and Democrat poll watchers, right? Because there's both sides. They said, hey, game over. We're not counting any more ballots. People are tired. Let's go home. Come back tomorrow at 9 a.m. We'll open the doors. Everybody got escorted out. They locked the doors. They shut the blinds. They put on, I guess, a candle or a flashlight. I don't know what they did. And they continue to count ballots unsupervised throughout the night. And that's when Trump's lead, the next day you got up and started to erode. And there was no supervision there. Well, that's illegal, Steve. They can't do that. That's going to be challenged, and lawsuits are going to be flying. But our goal is to win the state outright anyway, and then go from there.
Okay, and you're reporting some news here. You're saying right now they're counting, they're working through, and I take it this is the last group of ballots. It's 9,000 ballots. I guess that's from near Fort Benning, right? And these military ballots right now, President Trump's been basically 2/3, 1/3, roughly. All he needs to do is win 60%. And he would net out at a victory, an outright victory of 200 to 300 votes. About 300.
Exactly.
Before a recount. Got to be a recount.
Yeah, there's going to be a recount, but we're only going to gain in a recount, right? And all these ballots, all Fulton County is done. Clayton County, which put Joe Biden over the top yesterday, Clayton County, 87%. Democrat, 87% for Biden. That came in. All Fulton is in. Their biggest strongholds are done. Now what we have is active military ballots and other little pockets of rural areas that are trending, that were voted for Trump on game day, some by 80, 85, 87%. So if things work out, if that math holds, Trump wins Georgia outright by 400 votes. And then you go into the recount, which the Secretary of State It's already mandated.
Now, the Secretary of State has mandated that. When do you anticipate? You're going to be there Monday. Your show, and you're going to camp out there until there's some resolution of this, correct?
Absolutely, Steve. I'm camped out because you can't depend on like WSB or these fake news medias to cover this. I mean, you can't depend on CNN, it's their hometown. Can't depend on them. So we have to be there. You have to be there. We have to give transparency, and we have to report every day. I've got my top reporter from the Virginia Star is going to be there. The Virginia Star, thevirginiastar.com. Just tune into that. We're going to be giving 3 updates a day, real live, talking to the real people, and they're not going to be able to steal it.
Look,
we're on to them.
Look, we're going to win North Carolina. We're absolutely going to win Georgia. Right now, you're going to get an outright, at least, look, it's 300 votes, but we'll take anything right now, right? It's 300 votes with Trump up, with all votes counted, or will be
one vote wins. One vote.
And
you win Georgia, you get North Carolina.
I'm hearing good things out of Arizona. I want to tell everybody, Richard Barris from Big Data Polling will join us 6 o'clock for the entire hour to go all through this in detail. But Georgia is going to become the center of gravity. We got to sort out that mess in Pennsylvania, and there are top lawyers. I think they're going to end up. We've got a reporter up there. We've got Raheem Gassam, but we're going to report immediately when they file in federal court this evening. But there's other bigger things working on than that. They've got real heavyweights, lawyers now working on this, and you're going to see some interesting stuff come out. The president's not backing down on this one iota. He knows this can't be stolen from the American people. John, one last thing. You've got a presidential that's absolutely essential. We got to win Georgia, and we have to have a fair vote and a free vote. Talk to the audience about how important these 2 Senate races are. They're going to be now. It looks like Purdue going to, with a 300 vote victory or 300 vote at least ahead for Trump, with all votes counted. Will Purdue break 50% plus 1 vote?
Well, the Libertarian there is getting 2.8%. So it's a 50-50 chance. Likely he's going to a runoff. And then there'll be 2 runoffs for the 2 seats on the same day. $750 million will be spent there. I'm going to be camped out there. And it's going to be ground zero, basically. I mean, we're trying to do what we can to cover this, but I got to just say this, Steve. If it wasn't for you, and I'm telling you this from my heart, if it wasn't for you and what you're doing and your resolve and your steely composure during this thing, these feckless rhino Republicans running around the RNC, they'd already given up. They're already going on to fake news CNN now, telling the president to resign. It's over. You know, we got to be a gracious loser like Richard Nixon in 1960, like Romney. We got to be gracious losers so they can go back in minority and have a fake and phony battle with Biden and then make deals with China and their donors. You're the guy that has put a spine in everybody's back because, Steve, they can ban you, but you're not going away. Your message is out there. And I tell you what, I'm going to take your advice from today. I got a list, and I'm writing them down. Chris Christie, Santorum. I go right down the list, man. I got it pinned up right in my office. Every time we get one of these feckless Republican spineless losers selling out the Republic so they can go back to business as usual, Wall Street, gangster banksters, Goldman Sachs, I'm writing them down, Steve. I'm writing everyone down.
John, we love you. Thank you for making this show possible. You're the guys, Real America's Voice. We'll talk to you over the weekend. Hopefully have you back on the weekend shows. John Fredericks of the John Fredericks Radio Network. He's the oracle of the deplorables. Midge, Jack, Bannon, all back in a minute.
Pandemic with Stephen K. Bannon.
The epidemic is a demon, and we cannot let this demon hide.
War Room. Pandemic. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Welcome back to War Room. We're going to go to different locations throughout the day. We're talking to John Fredericks, who's moving down, shifting everything down to Georgia, Atlanta. We're going to get Jenny Beth Martin on later. She's in the War Room down there. A lot breaking. John Fredericks tells us that at the end of the day today, Trump's in the very first round. They're going to close it out. Trump's going to be up 300 votes, and they're going to obviously do a recount that's going to start, and you're going to have 2. Purdue's not going to make it because of the Libertarian, the 2.8% the Libertarian's taken. He's going to get in a runoff. Obviously, the other race that had a 3-way with Collins is going to get into a runoff. So Georgia is going to become the center of the known political universe between now and January, and like $9 billion will be spent on those 2 Senate seats. But it's very important. That is the kind of anchor. We get that recount. Johns makes a very smart comment that it's only going to peel off Biden votes as we go. Before we get to Raheem in Philadelphia, anything we got here on anything gnarly, Jack, Midge?
Yeah, we got some breaking news here. Michigan Republican U.S. Senate candidate John James refused to concede his race against incumbent Senator Gary Peters, Democrat. His quote, "Michiganders may have been disenfranchised."
And, Michigan is a great point with him because they were talking about this spread between downvote people who voted just for Biden and maybe didn't vote for the Democratic candidate. And between James and Trump, there is a less than 10,000 spread. But between Biden and I can't even remember what the candidate who stole the election's name is. Please, you can throw
Gary
it out.
Peters.
But there's about over a 90,000 vote spread. So this is one of the things that have people questioning, why does it seem that there's this lack of down ballot voting for the Senate candidate in these places where all of these ballots seem to be appearing out of nowhere, Michigan.
Where they just marked Biden.
Exactly.
Yeah. Makes you think it's faster just to fill in one.
Okay, let's go to Raheem Kassam. Raheem is in Philadelphia, outside of headquarters. Raheem, what is going on with the Trump campaign in Philadelphia right now? You've been there for the last couple of days.
Yeah, some really interesting developments here tonight, Steve. This afternoon, we had a Trump campaign or campaign-affiliated lawyer obtaining a court order, which effectively means that thousands of provisional ballots will now be set aside for review, basically being challenged. This basically came after the lawyers suspected that Democrats were informing their voters that they had cast a ballot incorrectly in some way, whether it was that they weighed them and they weren't heavy enough, they could tell they weren't in a security envelope, or any other thing that may have been wrong with them. Trump lawyers sort of went and said, okay, look, there are all these provisional ballots now, let's figure out why they exist. And effectively they exist because the Democrats were going to their own side and saying, hey, there's something wrong with your ballot, you've got to go in person now and file a provisional ballot to sort that out, effectively curing the ballot. That's the technical term that they use. Now, that obviously flies in the face of, oh my God, don't vote in person because, this coronavirus, because they have to go in person to cure the ballot. And let me give you a statistic here about this. I just got off the phone with these lawyers, and they told me that of 6,000 in Montgomery County alone, the lawyers have reviewed 731, 80% of which have now been formally challenged. Now, what that means is they basically get set aside, and according to Pennsylvania law, they get reviewed within 7 days. Now, a lot of them were basically set aside as of this morning, so you've got effectively 6 days for these to be, and I've got a picture up on my Twitter feed of the actual court order itself, signed by Judge Kevin Brobson of the Commonwealth Court of Pennsylvania. So, really interesting development, given that this is quite a large scale, given how close Pennsylvania is.
I understand. John Fredericks told us. I haven't looked at the numbers since the show started. He says actually Trump cut into Biden's lead here just with the last batch that was put up. Is that correct?
Well, I have heard that, but I'm not sure how verified that is. Every sort of few moments there's a lot of information out there at the moment. And here's one of the interesting things from the conversations that I've had with people this morning, is that both campaigns are working off the data as it's been published so far, but the data that's been published so far is already outdated. For instance, I've had a great team of statistical analysts who just answered a call that we put out this morning on the show, and I did on Twitter, and other people have been doing as well, and they came together and they started going through this data and going, hold on a minute, what we're seeing is statistically ridiculous turnouts in places like Allegheny County. Now, anybody who knows Pennsylvania politics will know Allegheny County has been one of the hearts of Democrat corruption for years. It's been a real thorn in the side of Republicans in the state. and you're seeing turnout rates in the 90% range in those areas. What's really interesting as well to me is, and again, this data is now outdated, and they haven't released any fresh data for the campaigns to work off right now, but the turnout in Philadelphia itself looks a little lower than people expected. So the suspicion is that that somewhere along the lines, the Democrats have decided, hey, Republicans are going to focus on Philadelphia itself and throw all their resources into Philadelphia itself as a place where fraud might be occurring. So it's being spread out around, and you're looking at Allegheny County, and you're looking at Montgomery County. I've actually just put up on my Twitter page as well, it's one of the last Twitter pages that we've got for the War Room. I've put up a statistical chart that we have created ourselves off the back of this data, so people can go for themselves and look at where the high turnouts are occurring, and that's where I suspect the Republican lawyers will be deploying and where they'll be looking for discrepancies. There are clearly discrepancies if you trust the data that's coming out of this thing. Now it will be about, okay, what can we freeze, what can we review, what can we challenge? So we've got a lot. I've got to tell the audience, there is a long old way to go yet. You cannot be calling Pennsylvania with this many challenges to this many provisional ballots.
There's some legal news out today regarding me, and you're going to hear other legal news coming about other lawyers, very heavyweight lawyers that are going to work on certain topics. There's sophisticated, what you did today, we're going to have Dave Ramaswamy on here. They're very sophisticated data people. The Democrats have to know we're onto them, okay? The evidence and the data shows there's something not right here. Right, this is all fraudulent, and we're going to get to the bottom of it. And I can tell you, like in Montgomery County, you're seeing turnouts that are beyond historical. Right, just blowout numbers. There's something fishy here, and there's plenty of time. This is why January 6th, December 6th is when it's got to be done. December 8th is the safe harbor. They gave you essentially a month to figure these things out, right? And they're going to be figured out. There's going to be a runoff. There's going to be a recount in Georgia, and they're going to go through and do another canvassing, so they're going to get there and start throwing stuff out. And the Democrats just going to have to know they're just going to have to embrace the suck. The cavalry has arrived, and they're going to drill down deep in this, and people are not going to let this get stolen. It's just not going to happen. You have too many smart lawyers now on this team. You've got too many smart data analysts on this team going through precinct by precinct exactly what's going on. Raheem, what's the mood there? And is there going to be, I know Rudy and people, I think, are working on something. They were looking to try to file in federal court this afternoon or this evening. And by the way, these for audience, the judges work nonstop here. You can file in the middle of the night if you get something. So is there going to be a new suit filed today? And what is the attitude? What's the fighting spirit like in Philadelphia?
Well, as I understood it, there was going to be a series of suits filed. Judge hearing one supposedly this afternoon. It was supposed to be at 5 o'clock. We're not sure whether that's taking place on time yet. But the lawyers have been busily working away on putting together witness statements and testimonies. There are masses and masses of complaints that the Trump team has put together from ordinary people who experienced problems on voting day in polling stations, whether it was that they weren't allowed in on time, whether they felt like somebody was guiding somebody on how to vote. There's just reams and reams of evidence here, and the idea is to take the evidence to the judge and say, look, you can't declare this. You can't, these can't be verified. These ballots, the vote cannot be counted unless we rectify all these issues and figure out whether or not there was a major fraud going on here. From my perspective, from my personal perspective, I've looked at things like this before. We were at the cutting edge of the ballot fraud that was taking place in East London just a couple of years ago that ended up with a major mayor for the Labour Party, or formerly of the Labour Party, being removed from office as a result. What I'm seeing here in Pennsylvania is 5, 6, 7 times the scale of that level of fraud. That's the only thing that makes sense in this regard, and I'll give you another example as to why I make that claim, and I know it's a big claim, and all these claims will be backed up and are being backed up in real time. I tried to post something online as soon as I get it. We were going through the open data for Pennsylvania, and we were looking specifically at birth dates registered on mail-in ballots. Now, of course, there are a lot of them that say, 1/1/1800. That's just a default thing that the computer puts on. So we're not looking. We can discount that, right? But then you go down the list here, and you start getting, again, in Allegheny County, Democrat, the 18th of June, 1890, born. Allegheny County, Democrat, the 13th of March, 1894. Philadelphia, 17th of November, 1894. And the list goes on and on. So these are not defaults that the computer is defaulting to. It's not like the Y2K kind of thing. These are actually input birth dates that we're finding on these mail-in ballot things that are being uploaded now in real time to the Open Data website for Pennsylvania. So there is so much to go through here, and I suspect over the course of the weekend you're going to see many more lawyers from the Trump side flooding into Pennsylvania as a result of finding all of this out.
Okay, Raheem, I want you to hang there. We're going to take a break. We're going to come back to you in the second hour. We know you got other breaking news we want to get to. Raheem Kassam, our co-host here on War Room Pandemic, he is on the scene at headquarters, Trump headquarters in Philadelphia. We're going to return to Raheem in the second hour. We got Richard Barris coming in. We're going to next go to Maricopa County, to Arizona, Georgia, to Pennsylvania, to Arizona. Ben Bergquam has got another live report there. We're going to talk to Ben. It's Fog City Midge, Jack Maxey, Stephen K. Bannon. We're in the war room, going throughout the nation. Next.
War Room Pandemic with Stephen K. Bannon.
The epidemic is a demon, and we cannot let this demon hide.
War Room Pandemic. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
This fight for the presidency, the fight for the country, the fight for the republic, the fight for populism, nationalism, the fight for the free world has many fronts. Georgia, Pennsylvania, Arizona, Nevada, Michigan, Wisconsin. We're going to spread throughout the nation and go around today and talk. Right now, we want to make sure everybody understands we're under a DDoS attack. AmericasVoice.news, the great service of Real America's Voice, the great thing of Rob Sig and Howard Diamond put this incredible news organization together, the John Solomon and others that we're so honored to be a part of. Now under DDoS attack, denial of service. That's when the Chinese Communist Party and the Russians and the heavies and the Soros-backed guys, that's when they come for you. That's when they don't want any of the information out. Here, note to them, it's getting out. We're not backing down. Like John Fredericks said, we got steeled resolve here. We are not backing down an inch on this thing.
I can tell you the Wu Mao Army in support of Chairman Z and the CCP have been harassing us on Twitter feed that are left up amongst us, and they're claiming that we are worse than China, that we have no right to talk about China as Americans because they're watching it happen to us right now and that we're hypocrites. Thank you very much, Mr. Dorsey, Mr. Zuckerberg.
That's okay. The Wu Mao 50 Cent Army. We'll fight through that. We'll fight through Dorsey and these guys. We'll fight through the Wu Mao 50 Cent Army. You got something, Midge? You got breaking news on James O'Keefe?
James O'Keefe, one of the USPS officials in Pennsylvania, has agreed to go on the record.
That's Postal Service?
Yes, the United States Postal Service is going to go on record and testify under oath to backdating ballots.
Backdating ballots. That's James O'Keefe. He's a killer at Project Veritas. Okay, we're going to go around. We're going to go to Maricopa County. Ben Bergquam, who is a reporter with Real America's Voice, has done an amazing job. Ben, can you hear us out there in Maricopa County?
I got you, Steve.
Wow, it's another
Thank you, sir.
It's another big get. Tell us what's going on. It looks like another big gathering. It looks like another part of the Great Awakening is live outside of the election center in Maricopa. What is going on?
It's actually quieted down quite a bit. Earlier today, there were hundreds, if not over 1,000 people out here. It was out into the streets. In fact, the police had to block off the streets and shut down traffic because it was so large. And at one point, it got a little bit out of control because Penske's trucks started driving in and bringing in large metal containers into the building, and the people that were here watching started freaking out, some of them saying, what are in those containers, what are in those containers? So far we haven't got to find out what it was. I've been told by election officials that as the ballots are counted, they put them on pallets and then they ship those off to a secure vault somewhere, and that those may be what were in the trucks. But as of yet, even reporters weren't allowed to get into the trucks or to see into the trucks to see what was going in those. That caused a bit of a ruckus. We had Charlie Kirk out here. The president's attorneys as well came out and spoke and reassured the Arizona residents that Arizona can still be won, that they're looking into every fraudulent vote, that they're also looking into every vote that hasn't been counted. And that's what I'm hearing over and over and over out here. Trump supporters, I had a mother with her daughter's first time voting. came up, said her mother, they went to vote together, and her mom's vote was counted, but hers wasn't, and they're just trying to find out why. The answer that they're getting from the county election officials is that they'll find out 10 days after the final results are announced, and that's just not good enough. I mean, it's insane. And we have hundreds of people now that are saying their votes have not been counted. They've gone online to find out, and it's either listed as rejected or not counted. And so that's the question. Why are so many Trump supporters' votes not being counted? And I haven't heard of any Democrats saying that they've had the same problem. So again, there's just issue after issue after issue.
Ben, let's go. We have a package for the guys in Denver. We have Vish. We have the Charlie Kirk package. Let's play the Charlie Kirk package.
Every single legal vote must count. We must audit the voter rolls. This is a fraud on the American people. How is it that President Donald Trump expanded his voter registration records in these states, and all of a sudden you're trying to tell me that they got 90% turnout in some of these urban areas? Hold on a second. Joe Biden had higher turnout than Barack Obama in Milwaukee? Joe Biden, who couldn't get 100 people to show up, Joe Biden, that had no ground operation. Here's really what probably happened. These ballots got sent out to every human being imaginable, and the Chicago political machine got sent out to the core cities that were going to determine it. We are not going to stand for this, everybody.
You got the fighters out there now. You got the Dave Bosses. You got the Charlie Kirks. You got the Boris Epsteins. You've got Corey Lewandowski. You got Pam Bondi. The cavalry has arrived. For everybody in the audience, just understand the first team is now fully deployed. You got the fighters out there. Ben, what's the attitude of the folks out there? Charlie Kirk laid out everything. You know, you got guys who couldn't draw a crowd, didn't have a ground game, and yet they're getting 90%. But you're getting higher vote percentages than when the beloved Barack Obama ran, right? And Joe Biden's putting guys to sleep. Did what Charlie Kirk say, did it resonate with that audience?
Yeah, absolutely. And I've actually got a few of the locals over here. One from Houston, flew in my friend from Houston, and then a couple locals here. I just want to ask you guys, does what Charlie Kirk said earlier, that this is not over, that how is it possible that Joe Biden got this many votes, more votes than Barack Obama, when President Trump's registration was so high? And to the folks here in Arizona and to Texas and all across the country, how far should President Trump take this?
He should take it all the way. I mean, go all the way with it. He's trying to expose everything, expose the Democrats for what they are, for fraudulent crooks, criminals. Take it all the way. We're behind him 100%.
And how far are you willing to go?
All the way, 100% behind him. I should be in bed right now. I'm so tired, but I'm here.
You as well.
That's what we love about Trump. He doesn't give up on us, and he will fight till the end. So we're gonna stand with him.
Do you trust the election results so far that you've heard?
Absolutely not. No, not at all.
That's why we're here right now. Yeah.
We were actually just talking about the one where Biden supposedly got more votes than Obama or any other president. There is no way. Yeah. There's no way. All the enthusiasm behind Trump, all the rallies, our 96-mile train that we had here, and all the rallies that have 20, 30,000 people, there's no way. Yeah. No way. Insane.
Tricia?
Well, this is even bigger than President Trump, and I love President Trump, and I want him to win. But this is about a secure election, and we don't have one. And we have to do something about that. This is not okay. We have to fight, and we have to take it to the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm hearing, Steve, over and over and over, is fight till the end, no matter what it takes. We are done as Americans sitting back and watching the left, the radical left, that want to turn this country into a socialist, communist, so-called utopia, really total destruction of this nation. They're done with allowing that to happen, and they're willing to take it as far as it needs to go.
Ben Bergquam out in Maricopa. Thank you, Ben. We may try to come back with you later in the show before we get off in the next hour. Ben Bergquam, Real America's Voice, a field reporter from Maricopa County. Thank you, sir. I think the most important takeaway there, you get fighters like Charlie Kirk, but the woman at the end that said this is bigger than Trump. You know, I'm a Trump supporter. This is bigger than Trump. This is about the country, and this is about us having a free and fair election. Ladies and gentlemen, this is why we're never going to stop. This is why we're not going to back down. This is why all the voices telling him, oh, just, be gracious. It's not about gracious. We're going to be gracious as we grind through this in very tough times to ultimate victory, right? Because Trump already won. We're going to be gracious, right? because we're winners. We've won this. You won this on the 3rd. All we're going to do is close on the victory. But you cannot back down. This is not about people who are telling Trump to be gracious and just go ahead and concede now are not thinking about the country. They're not. They're trying to go the easy path, right? Well, they say that it's a narrow gate into heaven, right?
Yes.
It is a tough path.
The path is a narrow gate. Yeah, there is no middle path, as they say.
It's a narrow gate, right? Tough path. That's what we're on. We're on. We're going to go through that narrow gate, and but it's going to be tough. What's so powerful is that working class and middle class people in the middle of the desert get it. We're the elites in New York and Washington, D.C. Here's what the elites in Washington, D.C. All they want to do right now is have Trump come out and have some phony, concession and say, I'm going to bring the country together. That's not going to bring the country together. The Trump movement's not coming together on this, right? They're not going to come together. They're not going to accept it and say, even if Trump says it. That's what they understand. They want to make sure, and they're going to have a process in Philadelphia with top lawyers to go through this. They're going to want to see the James O'Keefe videos, right? Midge, I don't know what's happening in Michigan. They got this software package that the head of the Republican Party, I think Ronna was out there with her too. They're making an announcement of some software package that inadvertently flipped 5,000 Trump votes to Biden votes.
Yep.
What's going on there?
Yeah, the Michigan GOP is saying that 6,000 votes in one county were switched by a software glitch from Trump to Biden, and this same software was used in 47 other counties. I'm actually looking into that company myself right now. It looks like this software is used in other places as well.
Boy,
something to look into.
Boy, I wonder if it's used and just I'm gonna throw some random states out. Arizona, Nevada, Georgia, Pennsylvania. We don't know. We're going to find out. Remember, there's no conspiracy, but there are also no coincidences, right? No coincidences. So how do you get it? I love how the software packages, I love how all the problems are always, they flip to Biden. Poor Trump and the Trump movement never get a flip. Can't you? By the way, if you're going to steal it, like the guy in the beard out in Maricopa said yesterday, don't insult my intelligence. Right? Don't have the 138,000 show up with nothing. Don't at least give me a little something for the effort. Right? When you do the flip, just take 5,000 for yourself. Just give me 1,000. Right? Don't do the whole flip.
Listen, one of the things that we know is this Trump movement gathered tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of Hispanic and black men in these urban areas.
Big time.
And let me tell you what, brothers, you guys should stand up for your vote because they stole it from you, too. Look at our Senator James, who I believe will be seated. But look what they did to him. This guy is an exemplar of everything that we would want in an American character, and they stole the election from him.
So, do we have, is Dave Ramaswamy dropped? Okay. Okay, fine.
No breaks.
Okay, no breaks?
No break until the top.
Okay, fantastic. I love that. This is real. This is real. That DDoS attack actually got some benefits to the programming, right? Thought we'd have to get with Miles going the thing. This is what's so powerful. You're absolutely correct, right? And now, but here's the thing: we owe them for those individuals, the Hispanics, the Latinos, the African Americans that came and voted for Trump and maybe voted for Republican the first time. We have an obligation to them. We just can't roll over. They gave their vote. They went out of the way. They're probably getting huge grief in their community. Look at Cube. Cube's getting lit up.
It takes a lot more courage for them to go out and vote and for them to support the president than it takes for some guy out in Grosse Pointe. So I have a lot of support. It takes courage.
It takes
of
courage
their conviction.
It takes courage for Grosse Pointe too. But my point is, these guys, it's super courage.
Yeah.
And we owe it. We have an obligation to the new voters that came into this system in this time, in this cycle, and voted for Trump. We have an obligation to do that. Okay, so we got like we got some bonus time. We might have a fit for everybody. And can we bring in Dave Ramaswamy? We're gonna go. You got something, Midge? Just jump in here. Midge, don't be shy. You can't be shy. You can't be shy around this mic.
Okay. I don't want to be conspiratorial, but I have a fact for you.
Okay.
The same company that created the software that had a glitch.
Okay.
Also, it's a large voting operation. It's called Dominion Voting.
Yep.
And they've got, you look at their map here. This is all the states that they're in. They're in, I think, 29 states in Puerto Rico.
Georgia.
Including Nevada,
Yeah.
Georgia, Illinois, Michigan, Pennsylvania.
Random.
Arizona. So it just kind of makes you wonder, was this same software being used? And I'd like people to do an investigation.
We are start crowdsourcing this right now.
Vish and I were talking about this on the way back from the earlier show, and you see this electronic age that we're in, right? And the First Amendment was meant to protect human speech and printed speech. And to tell you the truth, with this electronic age, their ability to suppress that information is even greater because we don't have the printed paper anymore, right? We don't have the soapbox in the town square anymore. Those are now Twitter and Facebook.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a frightening prospect, really.
I honestly feel like I'm living in Orwell's 1984 because I can't tell you how many times I've posted articles that later have had the headlines changed and rewritten. So you go back several months and they've changed the headline.
Well, several people from our crew in Poland, one particularly, was lamenting today to me on Twitter that this is starting to feel like Poland in the 1980s. And this is what they wanted to get free of. And they're all kind of heartbroken to think that this is happening to the United States.
Oh yeah, no. This is the way it goes. This is why these oligarchs in Silicon Valley, right? You got to break this stuff up. You got to turn it into a public utility. Cannot wait to turn Twitter into a public utility, right? Get it down to like a 10% return. Get that data that's all into a central location. Okay, we got a little change up now. We're not taking commercial breaks. That's fantastic. We're under DDoS attack. Right, they're trying to shut down. This is the Wu Mao 50 Cent Army or others. This is their thing. When you get too out of control and they can't shut you down every other way, they do a DDoS attack. A DDoS attack to try to shut down your website.
You were talking about the middle way earlier, and earlier today and yesterday you spoke about the contentious election between Adams and Jefferson. So if you want to know what a founding father thinks about the middle way, John Adams wrote to Horatio Gates in 1776, "I agree with you. In politics, the middle way is none at all, people. So if you need to be inspired, look back to our founders. These were guys with pluck. These were guys who put it all on the line. They're guys just like Donald Trump in some ways."
Gates was the hero of Saratoga, right?
Yes.
Won the battle. He and Benedict Arnold won the Battle of Saratoga. Okay, let's go to Dave Ramaswamy. We got Dave on. We're packed today. We're going to get Richard Barris the next hour. We got Lance Wall now talking about the populist movement and the evangelicals. We got going to go back to Raheem, hopefully back to Maricopa. Dave Ramaswamy joins us. Dave, I want to walk through this statistical. A lot of this is going to come down to probability assessment, statistical analysis of exactly what happened here, of how do people go to bed at 11 o'clock midnight. Donald Trump's winning a sweeping mandate, a landslide victory, won Ohio by 7, winning Florida by 3.5, 47% of the Hispanic vote, big upticks in African-American vote, African-American males supporting him, every demographic coming across, right? The one thing we know now is that I think actually the white vote was a smaller percentage they thought for Trump. So you got this overwhelming support. He's up in Wisconsin. He's up in Michigan. He's up in Pennsylvania by 800,000 votes. Up in Arizona, North Carolina, Georgia. It's a sweeping, essential landslide. People see the 11 o'clock news and they go to bed. They wake up in the morning, even early, get up at 6 o'clock, get that cup of coffee, and Donald Trump's behind everywhere. Right, or virtually everywhere in the process of getting out. And people go, well, hold it. I thought that they were going to stop overnight and we're going to resume in the morning. What happened? So walk us through, Dave. You're one of the smartest guys I've ever met. Walk us through the statistical framework here and help people understand. Walk through this theory that's out there and help people understand what's going on.
You know, democracy dies in darkness, especially between 2 a.m. and 6 a.m.
Yes, the Washington Post tells us, right?
So, Steve, the statistical contention is this, and I will make a couple of prefacing remarks, which is extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. And in life, there are no certainties, but only probabilities. So, in statistics, I mean, everybody knows, most people know there's the normal distribution or bell curve, which applies to, for example, people's heights and, for example, test scores like SAT, ACT. You know, that's like a bell curve or a normal distribution, which the scores follow. But in naturally occurring number data sets, there's something called a Benford distribution, Benford. So Benford's law states that in naturally occurring numbers or data sets, the number 1 appears as the leading significant digit about 30% of the time, while the number 9 appears as the leading significant digit less than 5% of the time. So, but if the digits were distributed uniformly, they would each occur only about 11% of the time. So it's kind of counterintuitive, and that's why it's also called the law of anomalous numbers. And this applies to a wide variety of data sets, including street addresses, electricity bills, and stock prices. So it also makes predictions about the distribution of second digits, third digits, and the digit combinations. So the intuition is this: in electronic voting totals, which are legitimate, the numerical vote per county or ward will follow a Benford law distribution. But in cases where they're artificially constructed, they will not follow the Benford law.
Okay.
Yeah, here's a nice graphic. So, for example, yeah, go ahead.
No, we're pressed for time. I kind of get the theory, and people get it. Cut to the chase of how that. What does this got to do with voting on what has this got to do with the problem we're facing? That we're every second's a second of urgency. I understand the theory of Benford's law and Benford's distribution. How's that? Why does that have any meaning, any relevance to the voting patterns that we're seeing or to the situation we're in?
No, the relevance it has is just like DNA evidence is used in crime cases to either turn around or reverse a conviction of someone fraudulently accused. This can be used as mathematical DNA evidence for any of the legal cases being filed. So if there's any discrepancy in any state level or city level, Benford law can help expose, it serves as a mathematical DNA evidence.
And what do we see here? What is mathematical DNA? Okay, because it should be by this theory one way, and it's obviously going to be different. What is the mathematical DNA evidence that you see so far, or these data analysts are searching for in places like Pennsylvania? They're doing it up at the headquarters in Philadelphia. We know they're doing it in Washington at campaign headquarters. What is the mathematical DNA evidence they're looking for?
I would echo the lady you had on earlier, who rightly said this election is bigger than the president. It's about American democracy. It's in the spirit of all the soldiers who fight and died for our country, who had the American flag patch on, not like a party patch on. So even in this election, you've had multiple candidates who ran. Of course, Trump and Biden are the most well-known. So if you look at distributions of votes in, say, Miami-Dade versus Chicago or Milwaukee, there's some troubling patterns where, some candidates, their vote totals conform to Benford's law, and for other candidates, it doesn't. So this is worth looking into.
Okay, but what is that? Okay, I got it's worth looking into, but how's that going to specifically apply to let's just take Pennsylvania? What are people going to be looking for?
No, in Pennsylvania or Philadelphia, people have to look for the voting patterns in Philadelphia versus the voting patterns or vote totals in rural counties in Pennsylvania, or voting patterns in Cleveland and voting patterns in rural counties of Ohio. Ohio borders Pennsylvania, so there shouldn't be large discrepancies between neighboring states. Same with Ohio and Michigan. So difference in voting in Cleveland, Ohio versus Detroit, Michigan.
Okay, fantastic. Dave, we've got to jump. We've got so many guests backed up. I want to have you on over the weekend. We're going to take some more time. I do know, and I want to tell the audience, one of the things we try to do, whether it's pandemic, whether it was impeachment, but here in this fight, we try to get you intellectual constructs or concepts, explain them, and then we walk through process. So strategy and structure, or in architecture, college architecture, they teach you statics and dynamics. You need to know the statics. You need to know the structural elements of something. You need to know the dynamics. If you understand statics and dynamics, you start to get a mental map of how things work, of how the world works. This Benford's law, Benford's distribution, is going to be a very important thing in going forward as they start to make the case for what happened here. Dave Ramaswamy, how do people get? What's your Twitter feed? How do people get access to you? We're going to have you back over the weekend to go in more depth in this, and specifically how it applies to the current situation we're in.
No, but Steve, my Parler ID is Dave Ramaswamy. And let me make a final point. You know, discovery of water below the surface of Mars is a low probability event, but it's possible. But imagine someone claims they discovered Coca-Cola below the surface of Mars. Now, that's an extraordinary claim, and it requires extraordinary evidence.
Fantastic. Okay, brother. Thank you very much, Dave Ramaswamy. We're going to get to. We're going to take a break. I'm looking at my team. Okay, we're back to taking breaks. We're going to take a short break. We're going to be back. We got Lance Walnut. We're also going to have the one, the only, big data polling, Richard Barris, to join us.